Pokemon Horizons has continued to subvert expectations for what we expect from a Pokemon anime. We got a whole new protagonist, a more story-focused narrative, and most recently, a one-year time skip. Something that's never happened before in the Pokemon anime. I mean, Ash left Alola and Lei was born by the time he got back, meaning that at least 9 months had to have passed between Sun and Moon and Journeys, and yet he's still 10. Like, I highly doubt Gens 1 through 6 happened in, like, the span of 3 months, but Ash is still 10, apparently, so it's a time skip. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but this is technically Pokemon's first time skip. The point is, Horizons is changing things, and frankly, for the better. But because we've gotten so many new things with this show, it makes me wonder whether we will finally see real romance with our main characters. I'm not talking about a more shipping where it's a one-sided crush and Ash is oblivious until she literally kisses him type of romance. I mean, this is my boyfriend/girlfriend romance. Like, they are together. Will we end the series with Liko being in some sort of romantic relationship? And I want to make it very clear that I couldn't give two shits about romance actually being added into the show. I'm indifferent either way, but as a writer, I wanted to revisit the series to not only see if there's potential or actual foreshadowing here, but also if it falls in line with Horizons as a show. Would romance alienate the plot too much? Would it assassinate the character arcs we've seen? I want to talk about stuff like that because it's way more interesting than, oh my god, Liko blushed once, she's totally in love with this person, it's 100% confirmed, I'm not bullshitting, she's in love. Let's start with going through every quote-unquote romance moment we've seen with Liko in the series, and I do say this very loosely. Now, you could definitely argue for other romantic arcs in the show too, but I want to focus on pretty much just Liko today, as I feel like she's a good benchmark for the rest of the series. That doesn't mean other characters can't enter relationships if she doesn't. I just frankly think that the series hasn't given us enough for these other characters to talk about actual romantic instances without diving into headcanons. The first instance of this comes from when Liko first met Roy. Now at this point she was internally monologuing like crazy, freaking out how she was the main character and stuff like that. Honestly, it was pretty funny and I wish they kept doing it throughout the rest of the series. So when Roy decides to come on the ship to see Liko again for, just adventure and plot stuff, she immediately assumes it's from a romantic standpoint. Liko, Roy's like 12. No offense, but you're the last thing on this dude's mind. At 12, I was thinking about Legos, not girls. I still think about Legos all the time. I really want the new One Piece sets. Anyways, this was the first time romance with Liko was sort of brought up. And if you're a Liko x Roy shipper, you could definitely see this as a potential foreshadowing. The other instance of Liko showing sort of romantic interest in the show is with Nidothing. Whenever she's mentioned, she starts blushing like crazy and gets super excited and embarrassed. You could interpret this as her having feelings for Dot through Nidothing, but honestly I think this is just a teenage girl fangirling over a celebrity she likes. But again, you could see this as her having romantic feelings for Dot, but seeing as she doesn't have this same sort of reaction around Dot herself and only her Nidothing persona, I don't think it's anything more than just fangirling. And that's really it for romance hints during the first saga of Horizons, as it's been a lot more relevant post-time skip, probably because they've aged up. I mean, I don't know, I think it just makes more sense for Liko to be developing romantic feelings for a character when she's 14, 15 instead of 13. The older they are, now that they're like in the middle of their teens, it would make a lot more sense for them to start pursuing romance as a potential subplot for the series. But the first instance is when Roy reunites with Liko 1 year later at Indigo Academy. The girls think he's, her boyfriend, which makes Liko freak out. I really do think this was played for jokes though, because after this there's been 0 moments like this in the story. And if they were gonna push something between these two, I think the time skip would have been the perfect time to, like I just said. I don't know, considering we're pretty far into this new saga already, with no romantic foreshadowing between Liko and Roy, I just don't see this moment being anything besides comedy. However, something that has been brought up multiple times is that Ult is super nervous around Liko. I think this was a translation error, but when he decides to join Liko and Roy, Roy's like, "You're not just coming for Pokemon, right?" Or some BS like that. I don't remember. That shit was really funny. The point is, this man is always blushing in front of Liko. When he first met her, when she asked to make pancakes with him, etc. He is nervous around this woman. Now, Ult could just be nervous around girls, which I mean, real, but this has been a recurring thing, unlike that one instance with Roy. So you could view this as potential setup for Ult to develop a full-blown crush on Liko. Now, whether that's in the same vein as a worshipping is yet to be seen. But all I'm saying is, it's not super far-fetched if he does end up developing feelings for her. Does that mean she's gonna reciprocate? I don't really know, because I haven't seen any moments where Liko has been really invested in Ult as a character. He's definitely more of a Roy character. Now, the most recent instance of this has to be with Amethio's return, as Liko literally goes off by herself to go find him without Roy, Dot, and Ult. Now, Zerk and Onya were with him, but the writers still deliberately decided that it would be Liko going alone. All I'm saying is that they could have easily had the entire team of the Rising Volt Tacklers stumble upon Amethio, or at least just the main characters go after him, but it was literally just Liko. And this has even been something that's happened beforehand. Liko and Amethio have had several one-on-ones throughout the series, and in fact, besides Freed, I'd argue Liko is the one who's interacted with Amethio the most when it comes to our protagonists. Now, I always saw Amethio as like 17 when he was first introduced, and Liko around 13, so romance was something I never considered between these two. But looking at Amethio here and the staggering difference 1 year made for him, I'm a little more inclined to believe they're closer in age than I thought. Do I think this has any sort of romantic subtleties here though? To be honest, no. I think it's very clear that Liko and Amethio are sort of like rivals, a Naruto and Sasuke sort of dynamic, where they each are walking different paths but hold a lot of mutual respect for one another. In all honesty, the Zygarde fight with Gibeon solidified their relationship for me. All they are acquaintances at best. I wouldn't even consider them friends. If they wanted to grow this theoretical romance more, I think having Amethio go with Liko and joining the Rising Volt Tacklers would have been the move. I mean, people have been talking about him joining the team since episode 1 when he gave off immediate Zuko vibes. But he's always going off doing his own thing, continuing this sort of anti-hero-esque story away from Liko. And I just don't think we have enough time in the story to even consider a potential romance plot here if he wasn't gonna come with her. And this leads me to my final point. Can Pokemon Horizons have romance? Yeah, I don't think it would change the plot in any sort of way. Do I think it will? Not at all. I just think the story is way too focused on the actual plot to care about things like this. The stakes are getting higher and higher. More and more things are happening. I feel like it would be kind of weird to introduce romance now, of all times in the story, when we're like, I'd say 25% of the way through the second saga. In my opinion, if it was gonna happen anywhere, it would have been right at the start of the time skip, so they could start setting it up. But most of the romance stuff has just been played off for jokes. But this is just my opinion, and even if there's no definitive romance in the show, if you want to headcanon stuff, that's completely fine. I'm not really a big fan of romance in Pokemon, but I know a lot of people are, and if it makes you happy, just do it. No one's stopping you. But with that said, to enjoy more high quality content, check out the videos on screen right now.